mga kaibigan! Welcome to In My Toolbox, your go-to channel for business, finance, sales, marketing, and everything in between. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or simply someone eager to sharpen your skill set, this is where we unpack the tools that you need to succeed. Each episode, mga kaibigan, dives deep into the proven strategies, actionable insights, and expert advice to help you navigate the fast-paced world of business. From mastering sales technique and decoding marketing trends to financial literacy and, of course, cultivating a growth mindset, we cover it all here. Plus, we explore valuable insights from the educated world, mga kaibigan, ensuring that you're always equipped with knowledge that matters. Think of this show as your personal toolbox, stocked with resources, tips, and inspiration, of course, that you need to to tackle challenges, grow your business, and of course, to reach your goal. Just a quick disclaimer, mga kaibigan, the information shared here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. I'm not a tax advisor, lawyer, or financial planner. Just for your personal guidance, please consult a qualified professional in the relevant field. So if you're ready to level up, hit that subscribe, hit that like, let's build something extraordinary together. Again, my name is Enrico. I'm an economist, financial professional, business consultant, and of course, I'll be your resource. Once again, mga kaibigan, welcome to In My Toolbox. All right, mga kaibigan, I have a very, nice topic today or tonight. We call it the rise of micro-influencers and community-led marketing. So this topic we'll be tackling about why small is the new big in the marketing world. Mga kaibigan, gone are the days when big budgets, big names, alone could guarantee marketing success. Today's digital audiences are now more discerning than ever, craving genuine connection over polished campaign. So micro-influencers, and community-led marketing, these are two powerful forces that are now trying to reshape how brands, these brands engage, inspire, and actually grow. So that's the thing that I would want to, dive deeper into this game-changing shift and why it actually matters today. So let's just talk about who are these micro-influencers. So micro-influencers, mga kaibigan, are just the content creators, just like me, Now, this micro-influencers has a follower count ranging from 1,000 to 100,000, operating in a specific niche like, wellness, fashion, travel, parenting, tech, food, and everything that you would think of that it could be a content, of course, right? So, but it's not their numbers that matters most. What matters in this kind of a business is their authenticity, trustworthiness, and the connection to their community. So those are the two things that you need to look into, right? The content creator and the community. The connection is very important. They're not distant, they're not distant celebrities. They're the voices people turn, for honest reviews, lifestyle tips, and product recommendation, etc. That these people or we can actually trust. The followers are just are not just passive viewers. They're actually fans, friends, and especially if they are in a highly engaged community members that's going to be following these influencers. According to the recent Influencer Marketing Hub report, micro-influencers actually generate 60% more engagement than the macro influencers. Can you imagine that, guys? It's 60%. This actually proves that smaller, more engaged audiences actually could outperform larger and, of course, disconnected ones. So why does micro-influencers win today? Maybe one you could think of is high engagement and low resistance. Okay? So micro-influencers sparks real conversation. Ito yung sinasabi natin, let's just be real. And, audiences can actually look at the micro-influencers that they could spark the real conversation. So their audiences tends to be loyal and often see them as friends. I'm connected with you. We think the same. So which makes recommendation feel less like it's an ad. And of course, it's more like a trusted advice from these influencers. The other thing too is the cost effective for brands. Partnering with micro influencers is often significantly more affordable, of course, that's the bottom line, than working with a celebrity or a macro influencer. This means that, startups, small businesses, and mid-sized brands can actually run a high-impact campaign on a modest budget. This is what I call, a low output, but actually has a high impact, especially on campaigns that your business is looking for. Now, let's look on the niche targeting at its best from these micro influencers. If you need to reach urban moms who love organic skincare, or for example, if you need Gen Z gamers into retro consoles, micro-influencers offer laser-targeted reach, making it easier to find your exact audience, and of course, you speak their language. When you look at speaking their language, that's actually a huge connection already, right? So how about long-term relationship building? Of course, micro-influencers. Many brands now prefer ambassador-style relationship. Now they get this from the micro influencers. Ongoing partnership that feel natural. And again, we were talking about building trust, and of course, building trust needs time. So they build trust over time, rather than one-off transactional posts. So the power of community-led marketing naman, on the other hand, as the marketing pendulum swings away from top-down messaging, brands are now learning into something more powerful, and they call it the community. Community-led marketing means turning your most passionate customers into brand advocates. And this could be your collaborators, and this could be your content creators. Or you could be that content creator. You're looking for a collaboration, right? So it's about building spaces, digital or physical, whatever you choose, right? Where people could connect not just with your product, but actually a community where people connect with each other. Okay, let's just talk about, a good example. Let's say, for example, Lego ideas. Fans submit their own Lego set concepts. If a design gets enough community votes, Lego turns it into a real product. So this is now a community-led marketing, right? So because people or the community voted for this, now the manufacturer makes it for you. So community drives creativity, and not only the creativity, but there's commerce in between. Fenty Beauty, build this community by championing diversity and listening directly to customers, real people, right? In real shades, reshaping beauty standards. Now that's another community-led marketing, right? Notion and Discord. Thriving ecosystems where users swap tips, templates, and hacks, making users feel like they're part of the brand evolution. Now, in this kind of strategy, you're not just a buyer, you're actually part of how a product was made. So that's actually a very powerful, relationship. So tools that enable community-led growth, this could actually, how brands are actually built from these communities. Say for example, key platforms and strategies that enable organic, loyal, long-lasting engagement. Say for example, you guys know this one already, private Facebook groups. Closed or invite-only groups where members can share experiences, ask questions, and they feel seen. Why did this work? Of course, there's an offers an exclusivity. There's a close environment where customers bond with each other, and the brand in a more personal, low-pressure setting. For me, if I'd be looking at it, of course, I'd be looking for a group that there's, less pressure to me, right? And then we can look at, Discord servers, a real-time communication platform. This used for organizing communities through topic channel. and voice and video as well. So this things works because it's ideal for building a deeper interaction, hosting events, and creating fan-led sub-communities around the brand that you actually created. I know you guys are very familiar with Telegram or WhatsApp communities. I myself, I'm using my WhatsApp community for sports. Okay, so messaging apps where brand can build groups or broadcast lists to communicate directly. So why it works? Because it allows instant communication with high open rates, great for updates, feedback, or limited time offers, So subreddits, the Reddit communities, guys, you've heard of this one, of course, open forums around niche interest where members will actually be able to post questions, give feedbacks or memes and a lot more. So, this works because it's unfiltered and real. And they're offering brands direct insight into customers, psyche or thoughts and preferences. And then, of course, you've heard branded forums, right? This is a self-hosted or platform-based discussion owned by a certain brand. The reason why it works because it actually gives you complete control over the community experience and fosters peer-to-peer support and knowledge sharing. How about the user-generated content, the UGC campaigns? They encourage fans to post content related to your products or services using a branded hashtags. So why it works? It amplifies word of mouth, builds trust, and allows customers to feel recognized and valued. Wouldn't you want that, right? So how about the live Q&As and behind the scene access? Go live on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube that, to engage your audiences in real time. And I think you yourself, guys, are into this one as well. You are being drawn upon this content creators using Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, right? So definitely why it works because transparency builds trust. Letting people into your world strengthens emotional connection with them. You feel like you're friends with the people giving that content. So what does this mean for marketers and brands? Whether you're a marketer, guys, or an entrepreneur or a founder, the future belongs to the brands that empower people. That's the key. Not just the loudest voices, but the most authentic ones. The key there is the authenticity, And then, if you feel that, of course, how you do it? Well, identify niche creators who genuinely align with your brand, that prioritize values and connection over follower count. Sometimes people are just, looking at the follower count. But then again, you have to prioritize the value and the connection, not just the numbers. Again, we mentioned about UGCs. Of course, you encourage UGCs, run contests, feature customer content, or create branded hashtags to build ownership. That's how you create their ownership. I think you guys know, just by simply putting a hashtag in your name, that builds ownership already. Of course, you would want to facilitate conversation, not just promotion. Ask questions, invite feedback, and But of course, when you do this, someone gives you feedback, you have to respond actively as well. Again, how about invest in your community? Give people a reason to stick around. Offer exclusive content, early access, or meaningful recognition. This is actually a very powerful tool. Exclusivity. People would want to be part of it. I'm the first, right? You don't have to, but I think it could be a good strategy for you. So again, looking ahead from transactions to transformation, the marketing world is now entering a new era. If you are into marketing, guys, you would want to look into this one because we are now in an era of trust, intimacy, and of course, the sharing of experiences. That's why testimonials, is very, very powerful. Reviews are very, very powerful because that's where the marketing world direction is right now. Because they would want to get that trust and the intimate relationship. So we're moving beyond the age of all transactional messaging only. because now we're entering a time where authentic human connection is actually the most valuable currency business people should have today, or should understand, right? So, what does the future holds for us in marketing? Relationships definitely will outrank reach. Again, relationship will definitely outrank reach. Brands that cultivate meaningful conversation, not just large follower counts, you will actually thrive. Communities now will become co-creators. See, because now they're not just an audience, they're now part of you. The most successful brands will invite their audiences to help shape the product or the way that you share your message, the message. And then, of course, a common purpose of the movement. Marketing now will become a two-way street. Listening will just be as important as the storytelling. And the key there, guys, is the engagement. It actually matters more than impressions. So smaller voices will spark bigger change, guys. Influencers with a few thousand loyal followers, the key there is loyal, will hold more sway than celebrities with millions of silent spectators. See? Yeah, we know you, but is there engagement? That's the thing. So in this, in this new marketing landscape, the new era that's coming, now people don't want to be sold to. Let me ask you, do you want to be sold to? Everybody will say no, but you want to be seen, you would want to be heard, and you would want to be valued. The information or the conversation that you will be having with a brand creator, and they see that there's value in what you're saying, you actually get a sense of ownership right there. Because we all want to be part of something real, something actually called human, right? And of course, something that actually matters. The brand that wins, mga kaibigan, in the near future are the ones building the tribes today. Again, the tribes, the community, right? So not just customers, but again, the powerful word there is community. Not just followers, but believers. Let me just give you that again, guys, So today, you want to build your tribe. In fact, when I was building my business, I called it my tribe. In fact, we were joking. Let's put up a cult, right? Now, the only reason there is because you don't want just to have customers buying, but you would want to have community out of it. You just don't want followers, guys, but you would want to have believers. Okay? And then not just transactions that you're going to be having, but the thing here is what you call transformation. All right, guys. I hope you learned something in our episode today. The rise of micro influencers and the community-led marketing. We're going to a new era now, guys. So I hope this episode will just open a door for you. Ask questions that will be able to help you in your marketing and build your brand and your business. Again, mga kaibigan, my name is Enrico Pobre. That's all for this episode in Toolbox. So until our next episode, stay equipped and keep building your business. See you there.